Okay, new week here. Been doing some fairly major work. As you can see, the motorcycle is now mostly all back together into the rear end of the bike anyways. First of all, before any work was started in the rear end, I did as the gurus say. I installed the front cover, but I made sure to put a small block of wood against the shaft end so that it wouldn't slide forward, because once you get into the back end of the bike, if you pull out the one flywheel cover, I guess so to speak, or crankshaft flywheel cover adapter, you're also fucking with where the thrust washer is. So I mean, potentially what'll happen is the crankshaft can be allowed to move forward a little bit. So I took care of that. So down here made sure the frame was all cleaned up and painted. Same with, I've got the rear swing arm back in as well now too. And I put the transmission on. I've got the 4 bolts in here all set to go. I got to torque them. I made my own homemade tool piece wrench end here. I don't know if I got it handy. Where is it? Oh, there it is. I took a socket, drilled through. I got a 10mm multi-point, and I'm all set to go. I'll use that with my 1/2-inch torque bar, but I'll get the rear wheel on and get the transmission so I can lock it down. It puts a fair amount of torque on things I want to be able to hold properly. I replaced the seal around the boot here. I'll probably put some black nautical silicone sealant around there. I put a new rubber boot on as well too. As you see now, I'm starting to use some of the new bolts I got. They were from a stainless steel bolt kit I bought from a gentleman off the internet. Seems so far so good. It provided this bolt. As you can see, it provided that bolt, this bolt, down here and there. I had the rear set put back on. I had a gentleman down in Newmarket do the rear set, and it came out really nicely. It's all freshly powder coated. He also powder coated the BMW top cover over the starter motor, and you see I've used also new stainless steel bolts there. And he also powder coated the front cover for like where the electrical and the bean can and everything's at. He also did for me the luggage racks that'll go on here in the rear, and he did the upper rail section for where the seat. But this week the bike's starting to look like a bike. I've got to have to come back and check and adjust the rear end bolts where you'll torque the center one, and then you torque the other one, make sure it doesn't move. I may wind up modifying or changing the socket so I can get an Allen wrench in there so that I can hold it steady. It's an interesting design. I made a point of doing over here, selecting a shim so I know how the rear end can be set against the frame so I can get the proper adjustment on the swing arm back and forth in that area. So it's starting to look like a motorcycle now finally. I have a feeling everything's going to come together fairly quickly at this point in time. Well, at least I'm hoping it will anyways, because then I've got to move on to do the next job is the heads. So I have new piston, new gaskets, I should say, not new pistons, new gaskets, and I've got new push rod tube seals and the rubber boots, so that'll be my next major task. And then after that, the only thing major left to do is the seals on the front fork, drain and bleed the brake systems in the front, and then new engine oil, new transmission fluid, and new rear drive fluid, and away we go. So I'm really hoping to get it on the road this summer. And I've got all the other stuff up here. There's seats, fairings, side fairings, rear fender, all the other hoopla. It's pretty close now. It's pretty close. I'm finally starting to use all the parts I got from Motorworks and, actually getting them onto the bike. I really love the job that Buddy did on the rear set. The powder coating is just beautiful. I mean, and the powder coated cover, and he powder coated the airbox for me. I mean, very reasonably priced, and it just made now it just makes me think I want to rip the whole frame apart and powder coat everything. I mean, who knows? That's craziness, madness. He also did the battery box for me. He powder coated it as well too. It's going to be fair impervious to rust now, I think, and more importantly, battery acid. Down there you still see some of the bolts I'm using from the guy. I sent him off a list a couple weeks back of bolts that he missed, so his kit isn't quite as advertised, so time will tell whether or not we'll complete with them or not. I'm not sure. Over there's the rear wheel. I've got to do some cleanup on it. Had to really degrease it. Over the years, the past people or the previous owners have lubricated the splines to death. So you've got a mixture in here of brake fluid and grease. Same like over the back area in the spline and the transmission. I did that with the, I don't use Staubog. I use the Molly 60 Honda stuff there. As you can see. It's like, works, I got that from Bob's BMW or Max's BMW, I'm not sure. Most of the other stuff is genuine BMW parts, and some stuff comes from Motorworks as well too, especially the stainless steel push rod tubes. Really love them, man. They're beautiful. I can't wait to put them on. This thing is eating up a fair amount of my time this winter, but I want to, it's going to be, I put a new clutch in it as well too. I made sure to pull apart the pressure plate assemblies, and in there I marked everything with, white out as I went along, so make sure everything, it's a balanced assembly front to rear, okay? So you have to set up from the flywheel to the pressure plate assemblies to, even this I marked off in here where the drive was. You had to mark a starting spot when you took it apart because there's 4 bolts in there. You got to make sure it stays balanced all throughout the system. It's a funky thing that BMW and their psychotic German engineers have done, but it wasn't horrible. It's like working on a car almost, or a tractor or something. I've never worked on a motorcycle like this before. I worked on the the Japanese bikes, but these ones are, it's because it's an inline drive system. I mean, it's very car-like, except it's just more finickier. I mean, there's stupid little, O-rings or lock rings on these things. I had to rebuild this thing here to make it move. Now it moves really good. It's nicely cleaned up and repaired. More of these stainless steel bolts in there. I love that. I love this rear set. Did I tell anybody that yet? That is just gorgeous. Okay, so, like I said, the next thing I'll film is the removal of the heads, because these got to come off, because we're talking some serious filth down here in these areas. You can see it. Leaky all around the rubbers, and certainly leaky into the tubes themselves. Okay. And then for more action and fun, we still got to do the Hall effect assembly on the 99 back there. And my wife's bike, we're just about getting set to do the motor rod electric ignition, the alpha system. It's just got to be timed, and then I can close up the front end, because her front end cover is sitting there hanging on the wall right now. So, no big deal. It's going to be a busy week or 3. I'm definitely getting the blue bike and I think the red bike on the road this summer. The Hall effect should be a weekend job tops. I still got to build the little diode box to make sure I line it up properly for top dead center. But won't be a big deal. I'm not going to rush this one. If it gets done, it gets done. If it doesn't, well, c'est la vie. I've spent so much. Oh, and new rear shocks are coming too as well. So just imagine that. It's going to be stunning. It'll be gorgeous. I can't wait. It's looking like, $1 million machine. Holy. Okay. Alrighty, so we'll do some more videoing after the heads are installed or uninstalled.